If you thought the recent stock market news about GameStop was exciting, just wait until you hear about this innovation.
Hey, my name is Wooten. The team is Block Transfer, a decentralized stock transfer agent protocol for global financial markets. Firms waste billions of dollars every single year on a finance firm called a stock transfer agent for what essentially amounts to a glorified Excel spreadsheet. I was writing this big 50-page term paper, and at the very end I realized we could actually apply everything in it to the stock transfer agent market. And that's when I decided to really start working on the technology. I always had a passion for trading stocks. Some of my best memories in high school are trading the opening bell in physics or going through my portfolios in science while my teacher does a lab. And then 2 years ago, I published a best-selling book on finance. Block Transfer is currently SEC compliant, and winning the InVenture prize allows us to attract and retain the top talent needed to flawlessly execute our vision of a decentralized stock transfer protocol.
Okay, let's meet the team helping simplify the open stock transfer protocol. And if we're lucky, give us a few hot stock tips. It's Block Transfer.
Thank you. As a kid, my dad would come home after closing multi-hundred-million-dollar bond deals, which I thought was just the coolest. I got hooked on stocks in high school, and ever since then, it's just completely changed my life. But one thing I realized really early on is there are a lot of inefficiencies in the market. In fact, there's an average of 11 middlemen in any given trade. One of these firms is called a transfer agent, and they're the reason why when you buy GameStop stock, it might look like you get filled instantly, but in reality, there's a lot more going on behind the gate. In fact, if you ring up a transfer agent today, you're going to speak to 4 to 7 people who manually process the trade over the course of weeks oftentimes, in a very slow and efficient process, and all these people have to get paid. Now, every public firm on earth is required to have a transfer agent. They record a ledger, looks very similar to this, taking track of all the shareholders or debt holders for a public firm. And this is incredibly important for things like shareholder voting, dividend distribution, or stock splits. But the way that it's implemented is fundamentally flawed. As you see here on the left, there's one big trusted central intermediary, one central party. And that party charges a lot of money for something that costs very little. And because all of the trust is delegated to one central intermediary, the more that they charge, the more secure their accounting appears. Now, I apologize, I don't have the mean of $400,000 that they charge per year. But this firm alone is $1.44 billion every year in the US of wasted shareholder money that should really be put to a higher use. Now, if you look over to your right, you'll see a decentralized blockchain. And what is incredible is that blockchain was created for the sole purpose of recording ledgers just like this one. And what we've done is we've taken the transfer agent protocol and we've created a system of tokenizing individual assets for public firms and acting as the regulatory intermediary with contractual obligations with the firms so that all of their compliance is complete and the underlying accounting for their transfer agent services is based on a decentralized protocol. And what this does for the shareholders, first of all, gives them immediate access to their assets, lets them transfer them geometrically faster, while also giving them much more security because there's no central point of failure. And for the 42,000 firms that have to pay for this service every single year, they just take their list of shareholders, transfer it over to Block Transfer. It's like nothing happened the next week. Everything works the same, except the firm's bill plummets. It is significantly, very, very much cheaper. We've detailed all this in our provisional patent application. And since publishing our protocol, I've had 38 firms reach out to us that want us to be their transfer agent. And we're in top talks with executives, CEOs, C-suites, CFOs. And I'm just so proud to say they're making this happen because decentralizing the stock transfer agent market really is the first step to opening global financial markets to the billions of people on this planet who just don't have access to quality equity investments. That's why I'm so excited to share it with you this evening.
Thank you. And I mean, here I thought Stock Transfer Agent Protocol was the title of the new Mission Impossible movie. Well, live and learn. All right, let's cruise over to our judges to live and learn some more. Blake, thank you for giving me that head nod on my terrible joke. Why don't you take the first question?
Sure. So tell me, what's the go-to-market for this? What has to change in the industry? So I get if you were, a stock transfer agent and you had your solution based on that technology, but what else has to change for that to work?
You bet. So the transfer agent's hired by the underlying company. So really, it's one of the simplest industries in all of finance. You only have to integrate with the underlying firm. So as long as you file some of their regulatory documents, you are their transfer agent. And if anyone wants to trade the stock, they're going through you. That's just how it works. So it's really just getting it to the firm by essentially offering them a commodity service for significantly less with much more security.
Dev.
I want to hear more about the 38 firms that have reached out to you. What kind of demographic, I guess, market cap are these types of companies?
You bet. So we're initially targeting the U.S. market just because I have much more comfort in that regulation area than anywhere else. So they're all U.S. firms. It ranges a lot. You've got bigger firms. I'm not supposed to name names, but you're like 1.8 billion kind of is sort of a high end. And then it ranges all the way down to just pink sheets. They're only worth a couple dozen million. So it's a very wide range because they all need the service.
And how do you make money? So I understand what you're developing. What is the process for you to actually capture revenue here? And what is that different than what current stock transfer agents are doing?
You bet. So the whole accounting process is all decentralized once we tokenize the security. But at the end of the day, they have to have a transfer agent by law. There has to be someone there. And so we've created it in a way, we're very concerned, obviously, about the sustainability of it. So there's a lot of fallbacks on it in the event that, we explode, everyone goes down in a plane crash. But in general, it's similar to the way it normally works. Same kind of contract with the firm. They pay you money. You're their transfer agent. It's just a difference in the way the accounting functions. And aside from that, it's a very similar process as what is currently being practiced.
Ashley.
What are some of the closest competitors in the blockchain space, and how are you setting yourself apart from them?
There's really no one I know of that's doing this.
That's a huge thing to say.
Or just any similar, just anything remotely?
I have personally never seen anyone try to do anything like this.
Okay.
Why do you think that is? Because it's hard?
Well, it took me 2 years running hedge fund to even learn what a transfer agent was, and a lot more research to figure out how inefficient it was. And I just don't think there's a lot of people in the blockchain space that have that experience in finance. And there's not a lot of people with experience in the transfer agent space that have much experience in blockchain. So.
Or who went to Georgia Tech. Let's just throw that out there.
What's the value proposition to get the company? So I see the long-term vision, but in the beginning, choosing you over another, transfer agent. What's that sort of near-term value proposition to them?
Really, most of what we're targeting are firms that are already public. They've already been paying transfer agent fees for decades. It's just significantly cheaper. We're trying to implement all, but you're looking at orders of magnitude cheaper for them.
So what are you pricing your service at?
You bet. So again, last week we were finishing everything we needed to do to be able to process paper security. So we just published this Sunday. So very, very recent. We're very much looking at a cost of 10 times less than the market current norm, and being able to price more than less than a third of what our competitors are charging at a baseline rate, depending on what the firm needs in terms of their TA services.
Got about 15 seconds. Anybody?
I guess the short question is regulatory. What do you have to do to qualify?
You bet. Transfer agents, much more lax reg than any other financials. There's 6 main programs you have to go through. We're registered for all 6.
Okay, that's it. I'm going to have to block transfer of any more questions. Decentralizing the global financial marketplace, what a great idea. And I know because I once decentralized the Deep Space Nine trading card marketplace, but no one cared. I deserve that. Thank you, Tony. Ashley, help me. Whom are you with to tell us more?
Help is on the way, Faith. I'm with someone who takes stock in John's invention. This is John's friend, Jake Crapster. This man is so true a friend, he drove from Charlotte, North Carolina, and I don't reimburse mileage. Jake, John has a profound passion for stock trading. There's only one way to put that. Where does it come from?
Yeah, Ashley, John, he started trading stocks back in high school. He wrote the book 9 to Noon as a junior in high school. And then, he created an investing club. He packed the room. Then he has a YouTube channel, a podcast that people can listen to. I learned a lot from him that I currently implement in my trading myself. John, he's a true entrepreneur. He sleeps 20 minutes every 4 hours.
What?
You know, you just got to be different as an entrepreneur, and John has that.
That John, he's our unicorn. To become a true blockhead, vote block transfer for the People's Choice Award using keyword block. Voting will open up soon. I now transfer control of this program. Back to you, Faith.
Thank you, Ashley. Well, tonight you are seeing our 6 stellar finalists. This competition started with more than 50 impressive teams, and just because you won't see all of them